Okay, thank you very much. All right, so as I was saying, SPE stands for Society of Petroleum Engineers, and it's an international association for petroleum engineers, including industry professionals, students, and all. So SPE holds seminars to provide skill training to equip us with skills that we might need in the future. So this happens to be one of such occasions. So today here, this actually is the second session for this program. Today here, we are going to be starting this session, and we have our industry person here to take us through. So our industry person is in the person of Prince Henry Sampson Idram, and he graduated with first class honors in petroleum engineering from KNUST in 2022. Aside petroleum engineering, he's also proficient in some soft skills, including AutoCAD, Microsoft Office Suite, Eclipse, Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, and some others. He also has, he's an expert in market research, content production, and effective branding. He was a graphic designer for Accra Lions Football Club. He was also the editor for publications at the Petroleum Engineering Students Association and deputy chairperson of the Voluntary Committee of the Ghana Engineering Students Association. Right. He was also the brand experience officer at Pontu Technologies. He has been a recipient of awards, including the special recognition for outstanding performance and also the prestigious Hero of Change Award at Vivo. He's also the founder of Aleba, and currently he's pursuing a PhD in chemical and biomolecular engineering at the Ohio State University, USA. So Prince, we are glad to have you here, and we are open to all that you have for us today. We hope that this will be a great learning opportunity for us. So, although I've said so much, or well, I think I've said so much about you, but we would want to also hear from you. We want to maybe introduce yourself to just tell us what this today's program would be about. So, Prince, if you are on the line, then over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Fortune, for a wonderful introduction. Actually, Fortune has said it all. He has said everything about me. In a nutshell, he has just given a summary about who I am and my whole life in general. First of all, hello everybody, and welcome to the second section of the SPE Ghana Capacity Building Program. And this month, that's for the month of January, we'll be covering graphic design. So I'd like to welcome you all to this crash course. I'm calling it a crash course because we have a lot to cover in a short time. Yeah. So let's all brace up there, prepare for what's ahead. As a requirement to this course, we are supposed to download the Adobe Photoshop so that that could facilitate our learning proficiency in graphic design. But then I'm very certain that most of us haven't really set up our Photoshops yet. So I've designed this very first session to be user-friendly, let me put it that way. So even if you have Photoshop as of now, you don't have Photoshop as of now, you can follow through so that you grasp something at the end of it all. So, like Fortune said, my name is Prince Henry Sampson Idram, and I'll be your resource person for today. So, without wasting much time, let's ask ourselves, what is graphic design? What is graphic design? So, graphic design, as we know it, is a discipline that involves communication through visuals. So, if you want to communicate something to some people, if you have a target audience, if you have a presentation, in fact, anything that involves communication definitely involves graphics. So imagery, typography, layout techniques, and all that involves graphic design. To effectively communicate something to people, you will definitely need graphics because people tend to relate with graphics more than text or words. So if you're able to put all your ideas into graphics, this means people get to relate with it more. Okay. So one may ask, how is graphic design relevant to the industry? Or well, let me generalize that. How is graphic design important to the engineer or the layman or whoever? So the graphic design actually plays an important role in engineering. You might be surprised at what graphic design does in engineering. For example, I'm an engineer who ended up working with Vivo Energy Ghana as a lubricants marketing implementer. So my role was revolving around graphic design basically because we were trying to market Shell lubricants. And then marketing involves communicating to the target audience, communicating to the people. And once we're communicating to the people, it means we have to conceptualize everything, visualize everything, put everything in a way that people can relate to it and eventually purchase from Shell. So what are some of the importance of graphic design to the industry? We are looking at visualization and conceptualization. Like as I said earlier, engineering is a discipline that involves a lot of complex ideas, a lot of complex systems. So normally communicating these ideas to people, communicating these ideas to non-engineers can be problematic at times. So what graphic design does is if we are able to conceptualize what we are talking about, then it means we'll be able to effectively lay out the information we want to give out to our target audience. Yeah. And even for us as engineers, the second thing graphic design helps us to achieve is prototyping and technical illustrations. So I remember one time at Vivo Energy, we were having a tutorial. Yeah, the HSSC department was having a tutorial, and they wanted to talk about the fact that having different holes for dispensing fuel would be effective to preventing hazards or preventing outbreaks of fire and all that at our various stations. So to effectively communicate that, they were having a problem, like getting the people to understand what they were talking about and the kind of hose they were talking about was kind of a problem. So they reached out to me and they were like, hey, Henry, this is our idea. This is what we want to tell the people. How best do you think you can relay that information? And yeah, sure. I designed the hose based on the ideas they were giving me. Oh, I want it to look like this. Add this feature. Add that. Add that. That is what we want the people to see. So you see that clearly, sometimes talking doesn't really cut it. Talking doesn't really give you the results you are looking for. So you have to incorporate that into graphics. So just like that, when I created the hose, designed it, gave it to them, sorry, and they displayed it, showed it to target audience, you could see that now people appreciate what they were talking about, and people got to know what they were talking about. So in the industry, as engineers, we create prototypes every now and then, every day, day in, day out. We use graphic design to create prototypes, from AutoCAD to Illustrator to Photoshop to Petrol and all that. Everything is graphics, visualization, basically. So in the industry, we're able to use graphic design to visualize whatever we have already conceptualized. Yeah, basically that. Okay. So for today's lesson, I won't be wasting much time. We'll be looking at the basics of Photoshop. Looking at the basics of Photoshop and how effective Photoshop is. So before I proceed, a quick one. I hope you all can hear me, and I'm not lagging or breaking. If you have any
Absolutely.
Mel,
We can hear you.
We can
Yes,
hear you.
Absolutely not.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's proceed. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen in a minute, and we'll delve in much more in there.
Hold on. It appears there are two hands up.
Okay, okay. Just a second. Gideon, your hand is up. Gideon, is Gideon on the call?
Gideon, just go ahead.
Samuel, I won't be sharing slides, but however, after the course, I'll be sharing the slides on graphic design and its importance to the industry. But this is basically a practical section, so I won't be sharing slides. Samuel, do we have clarity on that?
That's completely fine.
Sure. Thank you. So I'll be sharing my screen in a minute, and then we'll proceed to the Photoshop crash course. Okay. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. So for those who have Photoshop installed, you can open your Photoshop and tag along with me as I go. Okay. So what we have here is Photoshop. Basically, Photoshop is an application that is used for graphic design, obviously. But then what Photoshop does is that it allows you to edit or create images using pixels. So when we say pixels, basically we are talking about smaller boxes that make up the picture. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, do you all see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about pixels, this is basically what we are talking about. Smaller boxes of either similar color, same color, or different color that combines to create an image. So Photoshop is an application that allows you to edit or create images based on this concept. So it just brings together smaller boxes of different colors, same colors, similar colors together to create a wonderful image as this. Yeah. So you could see that obviously every part of this picture is filled with a lot of pixels. Yeah, basically that. So just like any other app, consider Photoshop like your phone. So when you have your phone, you have a home screen, a home button, right? So for those who downloaded Photoshop, you would realize that the moment you open Photoshop newly without any design or any previous works, you're going to have a screen as this. Because I have created a lot of PhDs over the years, you could see that I have some works here. But ideally, if you are new to Photoshop, this space we are seeing right here will be empty, and you will be allowed to create a new file. But then, just like I said, treat Photoshop like an app, just like your phone. You have the home button. What does the home button do? The home button takes you to where all your apps are and how you can navigate through your apps, how you can access all the apps. The same thing for Photoshop. You use the home button. The home button gives you an overview of your recent works that you've done, and you can reach out to any of them. Any of them you'd want to work on. So that's it. And if you want to go back to the canvas you were working on or the project you were working on earlier, you just click on this PS button here, and then you go back to what you were working on before. So a quick refresher, Photoshop has the home button, and then with the home button, it gives you a list of all the works or projects you've been working on, and the PS button takes you back to your canvas. Now, what we are seeing here, the interface, what we are seeing here, just a second. Okay. So, what we are seeing here, the interface of Photoshop, it's divided into three main sections. Yeah, we have the tools bar, which is here. We have the workspace. This is the workspace. Then we have the panels. We have the panels. So we have the tools here. We have the workspace. And we have the panels right here. So then, what's the workspace? The workspace is the area where we'll be doing all of the work. So you perceive Photoshop as an artist trying to draw something or trying to create something. He would have his palette, his tools, his canvas, whatever he's going to work with. There. It's just the same thing as Photoshop. So Photoshop, we have the workspace. The workspace consists of the canvas. Where you are seeing this picture is called the canvas. And then the tools are on the far left, and the panels are on the far right. So the panels, different panels are used to adjust different things on the canvas. It's like an artist who takes a brush, reaches out to a color and starts painting. It's more or less like the same thing. So one thing we need to realize is that every workspace is customized for a specific reason. For example, this is the default workspace we have here, but normally I don't like this workspace. So if you want to customize your own workspace based on what you are going to do, for example, whenever I'm designing, I don't need color, so I just take it out and I close it. I don't need swatches, so I take swatches out and I close it. I don't need gradients either, so I close that. I need patterns, so I close that too. Yes, I need my layers, channels, path adjustments. Normally I don't use the libraries, so I take that out and close that too. So you see that you can basically adjust or edit the workspace to suit you. You get it? So normally Photoshop comes with a default workspace, and that could be found at Window. When you go to Window, comes Workspace. You see Essentials. That's the default. That's the default Photoshop workspace. But because I've altered it and I want to send it back to its original arrangement, I just go to Reset Essentials, and then I'm back to everything that was already there. So let's say, just like me, you are not comfortable with having this type of workspace. So you would want to edit or change the whole workspace to suit you. So delete a few things that you think are not necessary, and you'd want to save that. Because when you come back, you don't want to always create your workspace every time you want to design. So you would want to save that workspace. So then, once you are done arranging your default workspace, then just go to new workspace, and then you name it according to whatever name you would want to give it, that you would want to remember. So I'll save this as my personal workspace, and then I'll save it. So then anytime I come to Photoshop, I'll be Photoshop and I go to Window and I go to Workspace. Yes, I would see my personal workspace. And then if for some reason I delete a panel or I alter something in there, then I can reset my workspace and then it brings me back to a default. So for example, for some reason you deleted your layers panel or you deleted your channels panel, you just go to Window and then you reset your workspace. You have everything back. So there are some panels that are very necessary. You would always have to have them because it makes your design easy, depending on what you are doing, actually. So if we are creating, for example, a flyer for digital print, we normally include the layers panel because the layers panel is very important for creating such graphics. And then you'd also need your adjustments panel. And the most important, you also need your history panel. For some reason, if you don't have your history panel, you can actually reach out to Window and you can access all your panels here. Every panel in Photoshop is here, Windows. So when you go to Windows, you can access every panel in Photoshop. basically. Yeah. So, is there anything you'd want me to clarify? Where we have gotten to? Is there anything you would want me to clarify? Does anyone have any question? Nope. Okay. So now I want us to also look at some things. In Photoshop, we have something called the status bar. The status bar is what we are seeing down here. Down here. What it does is that it gives you an idea of the canvas you are working on right now. Like I said, the canvas is the working area where we do the designs and all that. The status bar gives you an understanding of the canvas you are using, whatever is going on here. So you could see some 12.5% here. That's the zoom. So when I zoom in, you could see it changing. And it also changes here as well. Changes here as well, the same thing. So you could see that the status bar, just like the name suggests, gives you a status of your canvas as you are working with it. Yeah. And down here, we could see the document size and the resolution. So right now, what this is telling us is that we have 530 pixels across the canvas, and then we have 3,687 pixels along the canvas. So that's what basically this means. And then we have the resolution, that's 300 ppi. In some Photoshop versions, you are going to see 300 dpi, 70 dpi, 150 dpi. So it could be either dpi or ppi. Now, what that means is parts per inch or dots per inch. So what that is telling us is that if you are going to print this, what the printer is going to do is per every inch, it is going to print 30 dots of your design within that scope of 1 inch. That's basically what it means. I'm hoping in later versions we could cover a little bit more of that, but for now, that's what it means. Dots per inch, parts per inch. That's what the resolution means. Okay, so this is the status bar, gives you the status of your canvas. And then we have the menu bar up here. The menu bar has tabs like file, edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, and all that. So what that does is that it gives you various options you can access, various options you can access to edit your canvas and all that, and everything that's on the canvas. So the beauty of the whole thing is Photoshop has named it so beautifully that whatever you need, you could just know where it is. For example, if I want to view the ruler, I can just go to view and I'll see the ruler over there. Let's say I want to blur this picture. What is a blur? A blur is just a filter. So I just come here and I'll see the blur there. I want to edit my text, my type and all that. I come to type and I have various options to do that. If I want to edit the image, apply various commands to this image, I just come here and I have that here, image size, rotation, and all that. So it shouldn't be hard. Whenever you are looking for a specific command, you could just visualize, just ask yourself, looking at these tabs, where would it be? You get it? That's basically what the menu bar also does. And then we also have the options bar. This is the options bar. The options bar. So what the options bar also did someone want to say something? Okay, let's proceed. So what the options bar does is that it gives the options for the various tools we have here. So some people call it the tools options bar, or basically the options bar. So you could see that for whatever tool I select here, it changes the options, the various options for that tool. If I choose the marker tool, you could see that I have different options. If I choose the lasso tool, I have different options and all that. If I choose the brush, I have different options. So this is where you can select the brush size, the hardness, the type of brush you want to use. I understand this version of Photoshop might be, it's not even might, it is different from later versions of Photoshop. Later versions of Photoshop are more advanced and easier to operate. Unlike this, I'm actually using the older version because one, my machine can't handle the capacity of the new ones, and two, I feel like if we're able to cover most things in the old one, the new one should be easy. The new one should be easy to use. Okay, so just like I was saying, the options bar gives the various options for the various tools right here. So if you select the gradient tool, you are going to have different options. So just a quick refresher on all that we have done from start till now. I was saying when you open Photoshop, just like any app, you have a home button. Now what the home button does is that it gives you an overview of all the previous projects you've worked on, and you could create new or open your old projects from here. And if you want to go back to your canvas, you just tap on this Photoshop icon. Now the Photoshop interface has three important parts, which is the tools, the canvas, and the panels. The tools are obviously where you have your tools for designing. The canvas is where you do the designing, and the panels are a list of commands or places where you could adjust whatever is happening on the canvas. And then we have the status bar, which is down here, the menu bar, which is here, and the options bar, which allows you to tweak the various options for the various tools. Now, a quick one before we proceed. You could see that here on the tools bar, we have small triangular, small triangular shapes attached to the corner of every tool. Now it's not every tool actually. Some tools don't have it, but some tools do. What that means is that there are other tools that perform this similar function as compared to the tool that has been selected, just that they perform it differently. So for example, if I select the brush tool because I want to paint something or sketch something, and then I right click or I tap on the small arrow down there, what is going to happen is that you're going to have a list of other tools that do the same job. Other tools that do the same job. So the brush tool, you have the pencil tool, we have a color replacement tool, we have a mixer brush tool. All of them are tools that can be used for sketching, basically. So what that means is that you can select any of them to sketch or paint or whatever you want to do. Yeah. So any tool that has that small triangular shape down there, it means that tool has multiple tools under it that performs the same job. So for example, the rectangular marquee tool gives a rectangular select. Now, if I want an elliptical select, I could select an ellipse, but it's also selecting, doing the same job as the rectangular marquee tool. Yeah. So that's one thing I wanted to add before we proceed. Okay. So now, Photoshop, just like any other application, you
Yes.
have to know the opening, create,
Yeah,
and
Ndidi, how
save
are you
of
doing?
Photoshop. The opening, creating, and saving of Photoshop. So
I was sleeping.
when you open Photoshop, this canvas is not showing. It's blank. It's blank. There's nothing here. So if you want to create a file, just go to File, and then go to New. Now, the moment you tap on New, it's going to give you this dialog box, which is going to ask for the name of the document. Document type, mostly I leave it as custom. But then what that does is that the document type gives you a list of presets that you could just choose and go your way. So you see, you can have a US paper, international paper, photo, web, mobile design, and all that. And then basically it adjusts it for you so that you can proceed and then design whatever you want to design. But mostly I use custom because I want to customize the width, the height of whatever canvas I want to work on, set the resolution and all that. Yeah. So once you do that, let's name this test 1. And you create your canvas. Normally I use the default social media sizes, which is 1080 by 1080 pixel to create social media content. When you hit OK, you realize that you have this new canvas. Yeah. So that's basically how you create a file in Photoshop. Another way is that, especially for beginners as yourself, if you download Photoshop and then you open it for the first time, you're going to have this. And you're not going to have all these projects that I have here. It's going to be blank. So the same way, you just come to create new, and it's going to pull up the same dialog box. Once again, I'm using an older version of Photoshop, so this is how my dialog box looks like. So don't panic if you are seeing something different from this, because you are using a more advanced version. The more advanced version is beautiful and less complicated. So I'm sure you would definitely find your way around it. You definitely find your way around it. So once you hit on create new, you can customize it here to, let's see, test 2, and okay, and it's also going to give me a new artboard or canvas. Yeah. So that's how you create a file in Photoshop. Now, how do we open a file in Photoshop? Okay, the answer to that is in the question itself. How do you open a file in Photoshop? You want to open a file, so you just go to File and then Open. It's right here. So then you select whatever file and then you do that. Yeah, and just like that, you open the file. Now, if basically normally this approach is very long, so you could just also drag, but then you don't drop it on this canvas, because if you drop it on this canvas, Photoshop will take it as an addition to this particular design. So what you want to do is you're going to drop it on the bar that displays the document name and all that, and then it is going to open. It is going to open the design in a different tab. So let's do that. Okay. Yep, and then that also opens the file. Now, after you've opened that, you would also want to know how to save a file in Photoshop. So if you want to save a file in Photoshop, what you do is you go to File and Save. But then because I haven't done any form of editing on this particular picture, the Save button hasn't been activated yet. So let's say I paint something on it like that, and I want to save this. Let's go to File, then I hit Save. Now, sorry, just a second. Okay. And I hit on save. Yeah. So what we are seeing now is Photoshop is asking, where do I want to save this? If you buy Photoshop, you have the option to save your documents to your personal cloud, or you could save onto your computer, as most of you would be doing. Yeah, because I don't think anyone bought the Photoshop anyway. So you save. And then you could see that version of Photoshop. So I have all the options here. So I can actually save as a PSD, a large document format, which is the PSB. Now, these two file formats are responsible for saving files in layers. So if I say saving files in layers, it means that anytime I open it, I can re-edit it here in Photoshop. So if you save as a PSD or a PSB, normally go for the PSD. It saves this file as layers. So the next time I open it, I can come and edit it in Photoshop. Basically, that's what that does. Now, if I save as a JPEG, a PNG, a Photoshop PDF, yeah, even a Photoshop PDF, it's also editable in Photoshop. But then a JPEG, a PNG is not editable in Photoshop. It's like you are saving that as a picture, a non-editable picture. So you save that, and then you have a picture, not an editable file in Photoshop. So for those who want to save as a picture, you go for the JPEG or the PNG. Now, like I said, this is an older version of Photoshop, so everything is jammed in here. For the newer versions of Photoshop, what happens is if you tap on the file, save, and save on computer, obviously. You just have the Photoshop PSD, the PSB, PNG, or a JPEG. You only be able to save it as a Photoshop editable document. So, for example, I want to save this as a PSD. So I tap on that. I give it a name, lesson 1, and then I save that on, let's say, at my downloads. Sure, my downloads. Okay, and I save that as a PSD. Yeah, yours saw it pop up there. So then anytime I want to make changes to this, I just open it in Photoshop and I can make whatever change I want to make. So you could see that if I make an additional change, let's say, yep, and save this. The moment I hit save, it's not giving me that long option anymore because now I'm saving in an already saved file. So let's say I didn't want to save this in the lesson 1 PSD. I want to save this as a different PSD. Then what I'll do is I go to file, then I go to save as. Then now I have access to this dialog box, which allows me to re-choose what I want box, that you can now access the JPEG, the PNG, so that you can actually save what you've done as a picture. Because in the long run, you are going to print or share what you have created. So you wouldn't want to save in PSD because you can't share that. So you would have to create the file in JPEG or PNG so that you can have it as a picture and you can share that. So once we save as a JPEG, let's see how that pops up. Okay. Yeah. And there you have it. Now you see you have it as a picture. And this is a PSD. So the PSD is the Photoshop editable. And then the JPEG or the PNG is the picture version of it. So now you know how to create a file, open a file in Photoshop, and then you know how to save a file in Photoshop as well. In earlier versions, you would have save a copy. Save a copy. It's also an option in the file. That's also just like the name suggests. You use that to save a copy of what you are doing. You wouldn't have to go through this long process. You just tap save a copy and then you proceed with saving the whole thing. So now let's take a quick introduction to the various tools and the most important ones and how we can use them. So in Photoshop, okay. So in Photoshop, there are some important tools that, okay, for me, I use a lot, and one of them is the Move tool. It's used to move things around. You see that? Move things around and all that. Okay. Just to move things around. If I create an additional thing right here, I can use the Move tool to move it around and all that. Now there's a shortcut for the Move tool, and that's V. So you selected any other tool, and then you want to quickly access the Move tool, and you have the Move tool. You can move things around. Now you realize that once I select something, I'm able to move it, and that's because we have auto select. Automatically select and move things around. Now, in a situation where you have a lot of things on your canvas, auto select might be a problem because it will be selecting other things you don't want to select. You get it. So what auto select will be doing is it will be selecting the thing. Okay, that was because I double clicked, sorry. So if I turn it off, it's not working now. Yeah. So if I want to now select what I want to move, I just come to the layers, select exactly what I want to move, and then I can move that. If I select what I want to move, then I can move that. That's with the auto select off. With this version of Photoshop, if you want to move something else, and you double click, it doesn't work. But in later versions of Photoshop, you can also move things by basically double clicking and then dragging, and then you can move it. Yeah. So you see, I want to move this ellipse right here. I'm double clicking and then this is moving because this is the layer that I have selected. Exactly. So another tool I want us to be looking at, and for the record, you'll be using the move tool a lot. So the next thing I want us to look at is the brush tool. The brush tool is also very effective. It's very effective in doing a lot of designs. One thing you see, I just selected the brush tool, and then there is this stop sign on it. That means I can't use the brush tool. Yeah. So something called
Hello, Prince Henry.
yeah.
Please, you have about 8 minutes to wrap up the first part of the program.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sure. So we have parts, we have shapes, and then we have the smart objects. So you can only paint a smart object or an empty layer. So if I want to paint this, because this is a shape, Photoshop doesn't recognize it as something I can edit. So if I want to edit this, I would have to either convert it into a smart layer or convert it or rasterize the shape. So if I rasterize the shape, it becomes like a picture, basically, that I can paint over and all that. So you see that once I click OK, now I can use my brush to paint whatever I want to paint on this. Yeah, basically. So the brush tool is also effective because you'll be using that a lot to obviously paint, and most of the times for layer masking. We'll talk about that later in today's lesson. So the brush tool is also important. So on the options panel, you can adjust your brush size, your hardness. The hardness is basically the how thick the edges of your brush will look like. So you see that once I increase the hardness, I have a more rounded brush stroke. So if I want a more soft brush, I just reduce that and I have something looking like that. And we have the flow of the brush. This also helps us adjust the pigmentation of the brush, about how much the brush will be pouring color on our canvas, or how little the brush will be pouring color or pigment on our canvas. So if I increase the flow, you see that I have a more deeper brush stroke. And let's say if I increase the hardness, I have a deeper brush stroke with a more rounded edge. You get it? So that's basically what the brush also do. but most of the times the brush is very effective in layer masking. We'll talk about that, and I would explain all that. Another important tool that we would use is the text tool. The text tool. So the text tool allows you to, like the name suggests, put in text. Now you see that when you select the text, automatically you have options on the options bar where you can use to adjust your text too. So you could select a font type, and a font size, and layout with a center and all that, regular bold and all that. All is on the options too. So basically, that's what the text tool also does. Oh, and then you can change the color. You can change the color of your text over here. Now, before we proceed, let me talk about the layers panel, and then we can go on our break. So, just like every artist, you see that normally on TikTok, most of you, those of you who are on TikTok, you'd see that when someone is painting on a canvas, first they do some skirmishes and then they throw in some paints. First it's looking all ugly and that, and then they bring in some colors and then they paint something, and then at the end of it all, they have something beautiful. Yeah. So think of the layers panel. This, by the way, this is the layers panel. Think of the layers panel as placing stuff on stuff. You get it? The earlier you understand the layers panel, you get to create more exciting things in Photoshop if you understand how the layers work. So then it is called layers because just like an onion, it's like placing things on stuff, like one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. That's basically how we design in Photoshop. So you could see that my text is the most recent thing in my layers panel. So my text is what is on top. Right under the text, I have this rectangle thing with all my brush strokes. And then I have the ellipse behind, and then my background. Now you can see that my background is not editable because it is locked. So I can unlock it here, then now I can edit my background. So now if I want my background to be on top of all that I'm seeing here, I just drag it up and everything is now behind my background. Let's say I want the text to be on top and then my background will be right beneath it. I just drag it behind it and then now my text is there and my background is beneath it. So sometimes you could see fun things or fun pictures online and you wonder how it is done. So for example, with this, let's say I select this tree over here. Exactly. And just make a quick selection around that and create a copy. And I do this. See, sometimes you're online and then you see something on a picture like this and you're wondering, wow, that's beautiful. How do they do that? You see, the moment you understand the concept of layers, you get to understand a lot of things, how they are done, and then you get to appreciate graphic design more. So you see something like this online. Yes, that's how it's done. It's done using the layers concept. You get it? So layers is like placing stuff on stuff. You get it? It's an arrangement, how you arrange your things on the canvas. So Adolf. Adolf,
Yeah,
can you
Prince.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, Adolf's on the call.
I'm on the call.
Hey, Fortune, sorry. Fortune, you can take over.
Yeah, Prince Harry, thank you very much. Guys, so at this juncture, we would like to take some questions and answers. if you have any question on all that Prince Henry has talked about so far, I think we can break it out and then let him address it. So the floor is down. Any questions, guys?
Hello.
Can anybody confirm if you can hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, fortunately, can hear you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I think I can see a couple of hands.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I can see a couple of hands. Idris Pena, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, please.
Awesome. So feel free.
Please, I want to ask, what's the difference between the layers, the channels, and the path? They are all on the same line, and I don't know what they do. So if he can throw more light on that.
Okay, that's a wonderful question. Okay, so like I said, in Photoshop, there are three parts. We have the tools, we have the canvas, and we have the panels. So now, panels are, let me see a best way I can put this. Panels are basically options that allows you to make changes on your canvas. So the fact that they are aligned this way doesn't really mean anything, because I can just drag my panels and add it here. It doesn't change anything. I can just drag it and add it. It doesn't change anything. That's per your workspace, how you would want to customize that. So now what each and every one of them do is that for layers, like I said, that's what you'll be needing the most. For me, that's what I need the most. So layers allows you to arrange the stuff on your canvas, everything on your canvas. One at the top, one at the down, one at the top, one at the down, on top of the other, just like that. So you see that this tree copy that I created is on top of the text. That's why the text is behind it. So if I drag the text on top of it, now the text comes to the front. So that's what the layer does. It just arranges your design. You get it? So if I put the text behind it, it goes behind it. If I bring my rectangle back here, now my rectangle is here. If I take it back, it goes away. That's how it is. So the layer allows you to arrange. Now the panels, the channels allows you to also have different variations of what you are working on. So when I select this channel, you see that it gives emphasis on the blue pigmentation in my design. So you see that the places that are blue in my design will be cleared out, basically. So normally, if we are doing rim lighting is another technique in Photoshop. When you're doing rim lighting allows you to make a specific subject blend more with the background. So for example, you see people design pictures where they just make a cutout, put it on the background, and then they edit it so well that it looks like the person was actually where that particular background is, but it's just a photo edit. What channels will allow you to do is it allows you to seep out all the colors. You know, areas that are bright, areas that are not bright, areas with high contrast, areas without contrast. And then based on that, you can do a perfect editing where you can incorporate the room light. So for example, if I have my light source here, let me go back to the original picture. You have my light source here. Now I want to project my light source on, let's say, the tree, I would want to see the colors that I can blend to actually give me the perfect rim light so that I can use this to blend in my background. So that's what basically the channel does. You can see where red is concentrated, where green is concentrated, and then where blue is concentrated and all that. So now we can see where red is concentrated in my picture. So if I want to add a red pigment anywhere in my picture, I know where red is concentrated, so that the moment I add the red to that, it doesn't really look like I've really edited it, but I'm trying to make whatever I have there blend with the new background that I'm adding. I don't know if I've answered your question very well.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Guys, any other question?
Samuel was on.
Hello?
Yeah.
Any
Samuel.
more questions?
Yeah, mine is not a question. It's just to say thank you for the explanation. So far, the breakdown has been pretty good, and from a layman's perspective, I've really understood everything that has been done. Thank you very much, Prince Henry.
You're welcome, Samuel. I really appreciate that.
Okay, there's a question in the chat. Can you please hear me?
Okay. I think, Prince Henry, I think you can carry on for now.
No, Fortune, wait. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Are you asking a
there's a
question?
question. There's a question in the chat. So Mandy is
Oh, okay.
asking something. She's saying, if I save the file in PSDT, can I share it as a normal file? And also, if I save it as a PSDT and share it, can someone else edit or work on my file?
Okay, great question, Mandy. Yes, if you save your file in a PSD, you can share with a friend, and the friend can also edit it. That's if you want the friend to edit it. If you want your friend to edit whatever you've done, you can save as a PSD and share with the person. You can save as a Photoshop PDF. The Photoshop PDF is also editable in Photoshop, so you can save as a Photoshop PDF as well and share with the person, and the person can actually edit it. But if you save it as a picture, JPEG, PNG, no. What I mean by that is, if you save as a PSD and the person opens the file in Photoshop, the person is going to have access to everything that you have done. The layers, whatever colors you have used, the text and all that. The person will have access to it, so the person can easily edit it. But then if I save this as a picture, let me do that quickly. That's a picture, let's say a JPEG. Where's that? And then I bring that here. Now you see that all the layers are gone because I saved it as a picture. So now if someone wants to edit this, the person can't move anything around. It has compressed everything. It has compressed everything into one picture. So it's like once you save as a picture, it slams everything, all your layers together, and then it just takes a snapshot, something like that, like a screenshot. So you can't really editors. If I want to edit this, then I'll have to start all over again, moving stuff around. That's where expert graphic design antics really come in there. You get it? Yeah. But if you have this, you want to share with a friend, let's say, oh, Christopher or Samuel, can you just change the text behind it, put my name there, then share the PSD with Samuel, then Samuel can open this file as a PSD, then he can change it automatically to his name or whatever he wants to put there. But if you share it as a picture, like this one, no, you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. You can't do anything. Unless, of course, you start using your graphic design skill to be cleaning and then redesigning everything from scratch. I hope your question is answered, Mandy.
Yeah, I think that's great. I also have a question.
Okay.
First of all, let me thank you for the very thorough and succinct presentation you've given so far. This has been really educated. My question, yeah, is on the basic tasks like saving, creating new files, and also opening files. I want to ask whether our conventional shortcuts work here instead of going to file.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I'll be getting into that shortly. They do, but there are slight changes. That's why I didn't want to rush to it. You can hit Control S for save. Yes, that is the same conventional one. Undo is Control Z. The same thing. Undo, Control Z, and then it keeps undoing. You get it. But redo is not a conventional Control Y. Redo is Control Shift and the same Z. So if you want to undo, Control Z. If you want to redo, this time it's Control Shift Z. You get it. Every tool you have here has a shortcut. V for the move tool. Even the space bar will give you access to the panning tool and all that. You see, once it hits the space bar, you can pan whatever you want to pan and all that. So every tool here has a shortcut. In fact, Photoshop is all about shortcut. It would be very great if we all could get the list of shortcuts and memorize a few, if not anything at all, the important ones. For example, if I want to zoom, if you are designing something and then you want to zoom, work on something small and come back, it's not always that you have to come and click. In fact, you won't even get the time to come and click on the zoom, and then you zoom in, and then when you are done, you have to come back to this one, and then you zoom out, and all that. It's stressful. So if you use Control and plus, the plus key, you know that you can zoom. If you use Control minus, you can zoom, and that is very fast, so that if you are working by the clock, you can achieve all that. So shortcuts play a very key role in Photoshop. And let me use this opportunity to talk about the history panel. This is a very important tool because just like any other application, the Photoshop Undo, at least for the older versions, they have a limitation to the undo. So you can only undo to a certain point. You can't go beyond that. Now, what the history panel does is that, just like the name suggests, history panel, it keeps a track of everything you are doing. So if you, let's say, if I select my brush, and then I paint something here, you see automatically the history takes history of the fact that I've painted something here. I add another one, then it takes the record. It takes a record. So let's say if I want to go back, I don't want any of these paints on my canvas. It's making my work nasty. I just go back to my next action that makes relevant. You get it? So I go to move, and then automatically I've lost everything. In contrast to undo, where undo would delete them one after the other, one after the other, like that. You get it. But if you use the history tool, you just go back to your last point of relevance and everything is gone. So that's what you use the history panel for. I hope your question is answered.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So should we proceed?
Please, any more questions?
Come again.
I think you can. I think you can.
There's another question.
No, you can proceed.
Okay. So then let's proceed. So now I want us to talk about another important tool we'll be using very much, and that is transform. Now transform can be found in the edit tab, transform, and then there are lots of transform options here. So you can choose scale, you can decide to scale something on your canvas, you can decide to rotate something on your canvas, you can decide to skew, warp, rotate and flip and all that. These two are very important because sometimes you might want to flip things, and then the scale is also important. Rotate as well. So sometimes you might want to do all of these. Warp, skew, distort, perspective, they are a little bit advanced, so we would be looking at them now. So what is the transform? Now, let's say the text is too small. So let me not use the text. Let's say the background. Let's say the background is too small. I want to make it big. What I can do is I can transform it and scale it. How do I do that? I can either use the shortcut Control-T. And just like that, I have my transform up. So, just a second, okay? You'll give me about 5 minutes. I'll be back.
I think whilst we wait for Prince to come, we can just go ahead to talk about what we've learned so far. So I think we can all share something. If you want to share, you just raise your hand and then you come in and tell us what you've learned so far from the presentation he has given us whilst we wait for him. If we don't volunteer to come in, I will be forced to mention it. Let's come in. Mandy. Hello, are you on, Mandy?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, good. Can you share with us what you've learned so far from Prince's presentation?
Oh, okay. So far, I've learned that there are three parts. Three parts here. That's the toolbar, the workspace, and the panels. Yeah. And I've learned about the layers, how you can manipulate them to get what you want. Like, there's a lot here. There's a lot I've learned, honestly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
Proceed.
Okay. Are you back? I think, Prince, you can go ahead if you're back. Was that Prince?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
just go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So where was I? Nope. Where was I? Okay, right about there. Can anyone remind me of what I was talking about? Transform, right? I was talking about transform. Okay. So like I was saying, I want to scale this. I feel like it's too small. I want it to become bigger. So I can use the transform tool. How do I do that? Control T, or I go to edit, transform, and scale. It gives the same results. I could just hit Control T on Windows and or Command T on the MacBook. So just like that, I can scale it to what length I want to do that. Now you would realize that as I'm scaling the whole thing, this tree is also moving with it. Let me show you something before we proceed. Now, how did I create this? What did I do? I actually took the picture, the original picture, and then I selected the tree with this tool, which is the object select tool. I selected the tree. We are going to do one exercise, so you are going to understand this better. I just selected the tree, and then I made a copy of the tree. So Control J to make a copy. To make a copy, you just hit Control J, and then you have a copy like that. You can see the copy in the layers panel. Yeah. So that's how I created that. So when I created that, and I placed it over the text, so then it gives the illusion that the text is actually behind the tree. But the truth of the matter is that tree is not gone. The tree is there. I just made a copy of the tree and brought it to the front of the text to create that same illusion. You get it? So graphic design, basically when you're using Photoshop, you have to, it all boils down to your own creativity. You don't have to be trivial. You have to be creative enough. You see, so you have to work on your own creativity. You get it? So it's not as if I deleted the tree from the previous background, but that tree in the previous background is still there. You see, I just copied it and then brought it to the front. So you can also realize that I'm doing something here. I'm turning things off and on. Yes, that's the layer visibility. This eye right here, this eye that you are seeing, is called the layer visibility. So let's say I don't want to see this tree anymore. I just want to access the text behind it. I can just turn it off, and I can do editing on any editing on the text, and then I turn it back on. Same way, let's say I don't like my background. I want to see how to look without the background. I just turn my background off, and then I have that. Same way. So you just use this to visualize your layers. That's what these eyes that you are seeing here, that's what you do. Down here, we have other, oh my God. At this point, we are all realizing that Photoshop has a lot of commands, right? Yes, that's why you were able to create a lot of beautiful things out of it. It has a lot of, oh geez, not again. Why is US killing people in Yemen? Anyway, like I was saying, down here too, we have a lot of options that are very important. We have FX. Now, FX is also used to edit specific layers. So the FX is used to add specific editing properties to the layers. So for example, to open a dialog box, my machine is running really slow today. Apparently, I feel anytime one person joins, it runs a second slower. So if I want to add stroke to my text, let's say green or something, I increase the size. Oh, sorry, I selected a tree instead. Anyway, so you see that's the point I'm trying to make. I'm adding a stroke to the tree. That's what FX does, basically. So once you hit OK, it is there. Now I want to undo this. I can either use Z, or I can use my history panel. Yeah. So we have the FX. That's basically what it does. You can explore. That's what Photoshop is about. Actually, I can't teach you everything about Photoshop. That's the truth. So you just explore, keep exploring. For me, no one taught me how to use Photoshop. I never had a tutor to teach me that if you want to do this, go here. If you want to do this, go here. No. I learned everything on YouTube. So you can explore. Sometimes you just tap on things. What does this do? What does this do? Then you get to know what it does. You get it. This is the layer mask. We'll be talking about that later because we'll be using that in the project. And this one is the adjustment. It's normally to edit the colors and all that of the picture that you have. So exposure, vibrance, gradient, curves. It's all to make the picture look good, like edit the picture to have this pleasing look. You get it? That's what this one does. And then this creates a group. So for example, if you have a set of layers that you want to group for some reason, let me see if I'll have that in this. Let me see if I would have a group. Yep. So you see that in this design, for example, I created some rectangles and boxes, and then I wanted all of them to act as one. So if I want to apply some specific editing, I can apply it to all of them at the same time. So because of that, I use this to group them. So how do you group? You select the layers you want to group. How am I doing that? I'm holding on to the control key. So you hold down control and then you select the layers you want to group, and then you group them. Now, one thing you should know is that immediately you group them, they all act as one layer. You get it? So if you move that layer upward, the whole group will come up. If you move that layer downward, the whole group goes down. You get it? So if you are grouping, you might be careful about that. You see that here in this lesson, because I created a copy of the tree and I placed it on the text, I want the tree to be part of the initial background so that they move together. If I want to scale, I can scale them together and all that. But if I put them in a group, it means that I'm not going to achieve what I want to achieve because the text is going to be outside. Let's take a quick look at that. Then control, if you want to group, you can just hit Control G, or you can just hit this button, and then you have a group. So you see that immediately I created a group, the text is gone. The text is gone because now I've created the group for the background and the copy that I made. So now the text is beneath that group that I created because now the group is moving as one. If I move the text up, I'm back to square one. Like this is just like the background. But then I don't want it to be like this. I don't want it to be like this. I want it to be like this, but I'll be able to move the background and the tree at the same time. So what do? that is where you use the link layers. You select both, you right click, and then link layers. Now that I've linked both layers, it means whatever I do to layer 1, the same thing happens to layer 0. So now if I want to transform, Control T, both of them move. So you see how smart Photoshop is. Like, everything you need is there. Anything you want to do in Photoshop is there. Yeah, so that's basically what transform is about. You use that to scale, and once you are done, don't forget, you check this right here and then proceed. If you use this, it means you want to go back to default. You don't want to transform it anymore. But if you check it, then it means that yes, now you are comfortable with the transformation that you've made. Yep. So just like that, if I want to flip this, you can right click, then you have access to the transform as well. I forgot to tell you that you can right click and have access to transform as well. And let's say I want to flip this for some reason. I can select it, edit, transform, and I have flip horizontal. So flip horizontal flips in the horizontal plane, flip vertical flips in the vertical plane. So horizontal, then I flip the whole thing, just like that. That's the importance of transform. So sometimes you might be editing a certain poster and then you want the speaker to be looking in a specific direction, but the picture that was sent to you, the person is looking elsewhere. You can just flip him up to look in the direction you want him to look into. That's why Photoshop is beautiful. It makes it makes the impossible possible, actually. So let's proceed. I want to rotate. Let's say I want to rotate the text. Let me just for some reason I want to rotate this text. I hit Control T for my transform. Now you could see that outside the transform, I have this curved cursor up here. That's what we use to rotate. That's what we use to rotate. That's what we use to rotate. So if you want to rotate, you hit Control T, or you go to Transform Scale, go to Edit, Transform, and Scale to scale it up, and go to Rotate to rotate it. So the same thing. Or Control T, and then you bring your cursor outside, and you can still rotate it. Now you see that the rotation that I'm doing is about a fixed point. Now let's say I don't want to rotate it at this particular point here. I want to rotate it somewhere else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check this box. You see that immediately I check it. Let me just zoom in. Immediately I check that box, something pops up in the middle. That's the anchor point. That's the anchor point. So let's say now I don't want to rotate about this point. I want to rotate over here. So I just drag the anchor point there, bring my cursor up, and now I'm rotating at a different side. You get it? That's how beautiful Photoshop is. So if you want to rotate at a different point, you just shift the anchor point over there, and then you can rotate over there. And one thing is, if you want to use the default, you could actually access any of the points over here at the side where you checked the anchor points. You can actually choose any of them, and automatically the anchor point moves there, and you can rotate at that point. Yeah, that's basically about transforming, rotation, and all that. Okay, so now to the part of our exercise today, then we can call it a day. The best part, actually, we are going to create our first design, and it's pretty simple. For some reason, the thing I downloaded for the class today, I think it didn't come. I'll download it again. No problem. No worries. So let me just do that right now.
Okay.
I'll share my screen. Yeah. Okay. So whilst you are waiting for me to download the whole thing, can you guys just tell me why you decided to join a graphic design class? Hello. Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So why did you decide to let's talk? Let's have a conversation. Why did you decide to join a graphic design class? What do you intend to do with graphic design?
For me, I kind of um, have a tiny mini experience with web dev, and I was hoping that okay, this might be. I feel like I'm super terrible at front end, so I was hoping that this might probably give me some inspiration and understanding of how to make graphics more appealing and stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Hello.
Okay. Well, it's good. It's good. Good. I feel like at least, if not for anything at all, by the end of our crash course, yes, you would have taken away something valuable because I'll be covering presentation slides coming, so that at least your presentations won't look.
Friends, there's a comment in the chat from Rosemary Baku.
Okay.
So she said, I have a Redbubble shop. I use Canva for my designs, but uses data. I want to learn Photoshop so that I can work offline.
Wow, that's big. But but Canva is very simple. So I don't think you would really waste a lot of time designing in Canva. Unless, of course, yes, Canva designs are very basic, and yes, you use data. So I actually understand that. But why would you switch from a simpler way to a very complex way? Anyway, it's nice, it's good. Because Photoshop, you get a lot of opportunities. Yeah, it's good, it's good. That's very nice. Okay, so I think my thing is done down with it. So I think we can resume. Yeah. We can resume. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Let me quickly hide this thing. Yeah. So same background, but now we're going to try something else. So now this is basically the exercise we are going to do. We want to use this as a background for the picture I just downloaded. Take notice of how I'm opening the files. You see that because I wanted to use this as my background, when I was copying it here, I just pasted it at the top here so that it will open as my background, because that is the new canvas I'm going to work on. But then because I'm going to put this on the the old picture or the background that I brought, when I was bringing it in, I dragged it and placed it on top. If I place it on top, then it will add it to this particular workspace as a layer. But then if I want to open it separately, I just bring it up here. Oh shoot, because that is checked. I bring it up here and it opens it separately. So I want us to get a difference. Okay, let's say I want to work on this separately. So that's how you go about it. But now I want it here because I want us to do something. And I bring the guy in there. And then for earlier versions of Photoshop, it allows you to automatically select a subject just by hovering your mouse pointer on it. So if you hover your mouse pointer on it, you can see that it will turn red. That means that particular thing is an object that can be selected. So when you click on it and then you hit Control J, you make a copy and then you have it. You can also click on it and then use the layer mask and then you have a subject. But I'm using an older version of Photoshop. So I'll go to select because I want to select the guy in there. And I go to subject. And then basically what Photoshop will do is Photoshop will select the guy for me. Oh, shoot. I selected the, my machine is getting tired of it. So, subject. At this point, you all understand why I'm using an older version of Photoshop and not the latest one. Possibly when I get a new machine, I'll migrate to a newer version of Photoshop because this is stressful. Oh my goodness.
Prince, whilst she loves designing, and then there is an excitement or achievement when she designs, but she uses Canva more, so she wants to learn with Photoshop.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a great advancement. Okay, so let's proceed. So you see that once it select objects, automatically Photoshop selects the guy. In some instances, well, I have a perfect selection here because the background the guy is on is the plain background. So Photoshop is easily able to identify what to select and what not to select. But sometimes you might have maybe city buildings, skyscrapers and all that. So Photoshop would find it a little bit difficult selecting someone out of it. So if you have a situation like that, you just select this to the object selection tool, and then you'd have a little plus and minus up here. The plus allows you to add things to the selection. The minus allows you to take things out of the selection. So let's see, I don't want to select his hat. I want to take his hat out. So I select the minus, and automatically you see that his hat is getting out of the selection, just like that. Just like that. Yeah. Now let's say if I want to add his hat back to the selection, I can paint it back with a plus 2, and then I have his hat back in selection. So that's basically it. Okay, back to selection. Now there are 2 ways I can cut this guy out. I can make a copy of him, which is Ctrl J, and then I delete the initial background, or I can use the layer mask right here. This is the layer mask, and he's also off. But you see that the layer mask creates a mask actually. So what this means is that the black areas you see here is covering the purple side that we are not seeing. So if I select the brush and then I select white, it means that I want to unravel the part that is concealed. So you can see that once I paint here, the purple starts coming, the purple background starts coming again. You get it? So that's what the layer mask does. And if I want to conceal the purple, I just switch this so that I have a black on top. Down here, I switch it to have a black on top. I use my brush and then I paint over, and it is going, it is concealing. That's what the layer mask does. So let's leave it as this. So now we have cut out our guy. You could see that clearly if you submit this to someone, automatically the person will know that now wow, you are lying. You just want to cut the person, place the person here. He's not really on the farm. So then you have to make some modifications to actually let this guy blend in so good that nobody will realize that, hey, this guy was never even on the farm. We were the ones who added him there. Yeah. So what we are going to do is that we are going to select the brush tool. What is it? The healing. Unfortunately, my Photoshop doesn't have the smudge tool. That's disappointing. Okay, it's here. So what we are going to do is we are going to use the smudge tool to you see that when I zoom in, we have some purple in there, some purple background in there. So anyone who picks this would automatically know that, hey, that guy wasn't even on the farm. You just placed him on it. So we want to make this look as perfect as possible. So I pick my smudge tool, and then I click on the layer mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to smudge in. Smudge in. to make it all, try to make the edges look. Oh, sorry, that's why it's not working. It's too small, so I increase the size a little. Yeah, then I can smudge in just a little. So smudge in, and then it's full. Reduce the strength a little bit. Please, it's really much. Just here. The light source at the back here, because this is the source of light. You see, you would have to.
Guys, I think something happened to Tim's share.
Did I just drop off?
Yeah,
you did.
Oh. So all I said you didn't hear?
it was going great until
You didn't hear what? You didn't see what was going on?
we did, but then it suddenly dropped off.
Okay, sure. So the good news is I'm back. So.
Good to have you back.
So now we could see that this guy looks brighter than the background. You get it? It looks so illuminated. I mean, if the light is coming from the back, why should your front be this bright? You get it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little bit exposure. Sorry, that should be here. Exposure. And what I'm going to do is, you see this little box here? What I'm going to tell Photoshop to do is, this editing that I'm about to do, just limit it to the guy. Don't apply it to everyone, just the guy. So that's what this option here does. It links it or clips it to the specific layer beneath it. So once I click on that, yes, it means that whatever editing I apply is going to apply to just the guy. So he looks so bright, so I'm going to dim him a little bit, offset him a little bit. And reduce that gamma. Yeah, so that should do it. So if I had done the rim lighting at the back here, then you'd see that now his back and the edges of his head and all that will be illuminated and to look as if he's actually there. But rim lighting is a little bit difficult, so we're not going to go into that. So what I would want to do now is I want to blur the background behind him. So by default, if you open a photo in Photoshop, it comes as a background, non-editable. You can't edit it unless you remove the lock. So you can just click on this and then you remove the lock, and now it is editable. So now I want to blur the background. Where do I find blur? Blur is a filter. So I go to filter, blur. You can use any blur you want, but I want the Gaussian blur. So then I choose Gaussian blur. And, I blur the background a little bit. That's too much. It's a bit. Yeah. I think that should do. That should do. Oh, shoot. And yeah, that's basically it. We successfully added this guy to this background as a farmer, basically. So this is our project today. So what I want you to do is go online, try to find a background and a person, and then just switch the person's background with the new background that you found online. And then in our next meeting, if possible, you could send it to me so that I'll get to see how much of a master you are in Photoshop now. So on that note, thank you all, and let's have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Prince Henry, for everything that you said. I've learned so much from this session, and I believe that we've all learned. What you explained also, it was understandable. Like everything was clear and very, very, very understandable. Thank you so much, Prince Henry.
Thank you.
Guys, if there's any question, final questions you want to ask Prince Henry before we round up this session? Any questions? Prince Henry,
Yeah.
I would like to know, can we do animations with Photoshop?
Come again. I didn't catch that. Can you come again?
I was asking if we can do animations with Photoshop.
Oh yeah. There's Photoshop animation. What that one does is you create frames. What Photoshop allows you to do is you create frames, and then it combines all those frames and plays it. I think that should be there's a window there's a workspace for animation. If it's not in mine,
Okay.
then it will be in earlier versions of Photoshop. I think let me see. It's there. Oh, it's not in here. Okay, yeah, that should be it. Motion. So you see, it gives you a timeline to create a video. So what you do is you design the first frame, place it in.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that last part.
Place it in there. So what you do is you design the frame. For example, I want to do a moving stickman. So I draw the first stickman with his left leg ahead, his right leg behind. Then that's my first frame. I put it there. And then I design another stickman, the same stickman. This time his left foot is at the front, his right foot is at the back. I bring that frame. I design again, left foot front, left. So I just do that and I double up those frames to create a timeline. So what happens is once I play it, Photoshop is just going to play all the frames as one. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So it's like it's going to be a left, right, left, right, left, right, and to look as if it is walking.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like what. So for example,
yeah. I have the idea what's
exactly. So if I had a picture where this guy is not smiling and maybe he's giving a thumbs down, then I can actually use this as my first frame, place it here. Then the second frame will be the same guy, he's not smiling with a thumbs down, place it there, and then I just make copies of that. You see that in the end I'll get a video of him smiling with thumbs up. Then he makes a thumbs down, up, same thing. So with Photoshop animation, I want to commend it for animation though, because it's very tedious and it involves a lot of expertise, because drawing the same thing over and over and over again and then doing it as friends. You see on TikTok, there are these videos where people draw stuff in a book and then they just flip it and it's telling a story, something like that. That's how exactly. That's how the Photoshop animation works. So you'd have to draw as much as that to actually get something substantial. You get it?
Thank you so much. Guys, any more questions? Samuel says, thank you very much, Prince Henry. And Adolf says, great presentation.
Thank you all.
We can't wait to have the next session on the 20th.
Wow, sure, definitely. So I want to hear from you guys. Would you want another session on Photoshop, or we should just proceed into the presentations?
Okay. Guys, what do you say?
I think we can do more another project in Photoshop before we move on. That is what I suggest.
Okay.
So that Samuel was coming in. Samuel.
So then in our next lesson, we will learn how to create a basic flyer. So,
Samuel is on. I think Samuel wants to say something.
Oh, okay, Samuel.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prince, and thank you very much, DSP team, for this. Prince, and you did say that we probably could send you our progress before the next session. May I know how we could reach you?
Oh, okay, that's great. You can send in your submissions to
which point of contact?
To either my WhatsApp or my email. So I think the email will be much more convenient. So you can reach me on princehenry.samsone@gmail.com. So Prince Henry 1, no space, then dot, then Samson SAMPSONE@gmail.com. Are we clear on that?
Thank you very much. Could you,
when you submit,
thank you for good measure. Could you kindly type?
Oh, sorry, Samuel. Go ahead.
For good measure, thank you. For good measure, could you kindly type that in the chat box? Okay, I got that. Thank you.
Sure.
You're about making a point. Over to you, Prince.
It's there now.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yes, please. You're about making a point, Prince Henry, about the submission.
Okay, yeah, I was saying that you could throw in your name there so that I get to know who it's from, who the submission is from, so that I can make reference to some designs I thought were true mastery in our next lesson. Okay. Okay.
I think there's no more questions.
Oh, someone is saying she had been trying to get the app on her phone. You want to use Photoshop on your phone? I think the Photoshop version for mobile is very limited. It's very, very limited. So I wouldn't advise that you get this on phone. There are amazing graphic designing apps you could use on your phone. You could actually, I started designing flyers on my phone. That was how I started. I was using Pixel Lab. So if you want to design on your phone, you can download Pixel Lab. Pixel Lab also has its own tutorials and everything. So you would have to watch that to know how to use Pixel Lab. That's for and the amazing thing is you can actually use Pixel Lab to create high-end graphics, just like Photoshop. Just that on Pixel Lab, you'll be working on your phone. That's the beauty of it. For Photoshop, I always say if you want to download the cracked version, you just go to Telegram. Everything is there. You go to Telegram, then you search for Photoshop 2020, Photoshop CC 2021, 2019, whatever version you want to download. You search for it, a list of groups will pop up. And definitely one of those groups is going to have the cracked version of Photoshop. So you can download it from Photoshop. Yeah. And sorry, from Telegram. And then there's this website, I think, getintopc.com. You can get it there. You can download it there too. Yeah. Is there any more question or anything you would want clarity on?
Yeah, guys, any more questions for Prince Henry? Okay, then we're so sorry that we had to start late today, and thank you guys so much for being a part of this program. We hope to see you next week. You have a great weekend. Bye bye.